Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our morning prayer. Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our own. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage that we may well serve our county and fulfill it. Amen. Okay, we have minutes.
Yeah, I'd like the motion to approve the minutes of February 7th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Do we have any public comment pending resolutions? Okay, we will move on. Department resolutions. Jeremy Cinco, sanitary engineer.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Two resolution consideration today. The first is authorizing an agreement between the Medina County and Sex Corporation. The second is confirming and levying assessments for the property owners of the cost of constructing the sanitary sewer main extension along Ryan Road.
Move to approve resolutions.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Holly Murin, Human Resources Director.
Morning. On our personal changes from today, we have hires, one in maintenance and family services, one at office for older adults, 3 promotions, 2 at job and family services, and 1 at one change in hire date for commissioners, a transfer of agencies from transit, 3 rate increases, 1 in sanitary, 1 at job services, and 1 in human resources, and 3 leave of absence, 2 in sanitary, job and family services. The second resolution is amending the table of organization, Medina County Office for Older Adults.
Move to approve both resolutions.
Any discussion? Roll?
Hambley?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Wheeler County Administrator.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 6 resolutions for you today. The first resolution, appropriations. This is being done through the increase of appropriations in various funds and accounts. Second resolution is approving various expenditure adjustments, funds and accounts. Third resolution is authorizing Medina County Sheriff to enter into a contract Group Inc. This is for the purchase of proprietary information technology to assist the sheriff's law enforcement functions. This is without going through the competitive bidding process in accordance with the revised code 307.86B. Fourth resolution is allowing expenses of the department for travel. Fifth resolution is allowing travel expenses of various officials. And the final resolution is authorizing the payment of invoices by the county in the amount of $1,688,429.
Move to approve the 6 resolutions.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll?
Harrison?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Now our department, Greg Brown, our County Home Superintendent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Starting off with census today. We're currently at 41 residents, 1 cat, 2 peafowl. Staffing, we're still looking part-time LPN. For the home updates, we're getting our new from IT this week. That's great. Maintenance is bringing us excellent service. We've had some issues that they've all been able to take care of. New still doing fantastic.
Good. Good.
And then the hardwood floors in our sports being sanded and finished. They've been hiding under Luan and carpet for 2 decades now. Finally breaking out, courtesy of the Baker brothers. Some events starting in January. The residents were doing some crafts. These were hosted by Avon did line dancing in the activity room in January. They also did a tour of the Weymouth Preservation Society. There was an article in the Commissioner's newsletter about that. And then for February, the Clutters started us out with their Super Bowl party, which was great. They have a Valentine's Day party tomorrow. We have Nature with Pam coming back to tell us all the animals of Yellowstone. And then some of the donations. We had some great donations. Feeding Medina County donated a large amount of whole frozen chickens. That was fantastic. We've had many organizations and individuals giving us bounty cards for the residents. And then we had a local resident donate a pack of pre-cooked chicken wings that just happened to be Super Bowl dinner for the residents. That was fantastic. And that's all I have.
Great. Yeah.
Questions?
Great
Super.
job, Greg. Okay, next we have Philip Titterington, Adam Board Director.
All right, thank you for speak today. It sounds like I need to go to the county home. You guys are having one out there. And did he give me his time?
Sure.
All right.
As much as you want.
No, here we go. We got it. Thank you again. Once again, I just want to report on some things that the levy helps us accomplish. So the levy really focuses on the mental health services and recovery supports. So during the period, this is a period I'll run. This is October through December, which is our second quarter of fiscal year. So requests, phone calls continue to pour into our office from everything that you can imagine, from adults with children, adults with youth, other agencies, schools, hospitals. What we're seeing is the need continues to be great and it continues to increase. So during period, the request for supportive housing is really, we have, the Adam Board has 4 units that it has access to. We have a wait list. So we know we definitely need additional supportive, and we appreciate it being done. And through the housing network, there are too few group homes. We have individuals who need a group home setting, adult group setting, and we have things either decide that these individuals are too hard to take care of, or when they do take, really increase the rate. So we're talking about $3,500 at least per resident. And most of those individuals don't have funds. So the Adam Board, through the levy, is able to at least help with those costs.
When you
as
say
well.
3,500 is per month?
Per month, per resident, yeah, that's
Okay,
correct.
just want to make it clear.
Right. The Adam Board, we have a level 2, our Northland Drive 2 is actually 11 units that is set up to house individuals who have been deemed as homeless, chronically homeless. It's all full, and we have a wait list, so we definitely need more housing for that. And I say that because I know that the housing network, in combination with many of you, are working on an emergency shelter. It is needed. And we appreciate everybody working through that. So in this period, the agencies that we contract with, which includes, and they have offices in Medina, Brunswick, Lodi, and as well as in Wadsworth, just over 5,000 were served during this reporting period by those agencies. And down is 90% of those were adults, 10% are youth. Approximately 1,877 adults and 188 youth, and they who are receiving psychiatric services. So what that means, they're being prescribed medication for their diagnosis. Approximately 383 youth are diagnosed with a serious emotional disturbance. It means that they have intensive mental health needs. Once again, I'm only reporting our contract. There's a lot of other providers in the county that we just don't have the data for that. To assess the needs of youth, the Adams really, we've constructed a youth resiliency and counseling center over there at Northland. The building's just about 6,000 square feet. It's going to be trauma centered. It's going to have a lot of unique opportunities and services in there, and we're contracting with Ohio Guidestone to oversee that. Hopefully in the next couple of months that'll go live, and then we'll go out there and show the community. It's not only by Ohio Guidestone, but the community as well. There's different opportunities for that partnership. Humans, we also fund crisis, so the 24/7 behavioral health line through alternative paths. During this reporting period, there were 804 calls or engagements through this line, so over a 3-month period. Of those, 65 individuals verbalized suicidal thoughts. There were 35 active rescues that the individuals who were answering the phone actually dispatched emergency personnel out individual. And there were 61 referrals made from law enforcement, directly from law enforcement to that hotline, to crisis services, which is very impressive when one goes out there. And that's just a nice collaboration through the county, teaching law enforcement the critical skills necessary when they happen to, show up on a scene in psychosis or what have you. Alternative Paths also operates a loss team, which is the Lopes and Suicide Survivors. We fund that through them. That's where it counts to the scene of a suicide. And unfortunately, during this reporting period, there were 6 times they were dispatched. So we don't like to see that for sure. Levy fund, we were able to purchase recovery supports. Hope Community is our big one that we purchase services from. They operate out of the Highland House. They have also a hub in Brunswick, and they are just starting this year in Worth as well. The Adam Board just added 3,000 square feet to the Highland House. We started to use that space. Once again, in April, we're hopeful that we can open community to kind of see. They have a 24/7 Hope Link program. It means 24/7. Somebody who's wants to reach out, they contact that number. They're hooked up with their support to help them on their recovery journey. So during this report period, 2 individuals made that phone call and were linked. There are certified peer recovery supporters working at Hope Recovery Community and 7 at Guidestone. On average, 50 individuals per month are receiving support from a certified or recovery coach, if you will. And they average 3,000 per month. They provided, during this reporting period, 141 inmates inside the Medina County Jail, peer. And what that does is that helps connect them with recovery supports, transition in the community. Ultimately, what we want to hear also is it reduces recidivism. So we're thankful for that partnership with Sheriff Grice and his team. Linked 66 individuals to detox, residential treatment, or recovery housing, which is paid by the Adam Board when insurance doesn't cover that. So that's, again, and often it's the same day they get. So we're very appreciative of that. The levy also helps fund MAT, medication-assisted treatment. So there's options there. 88 individuals received the MAT through Ohio Guidestone and Alternative Path reporting period. Sometimes, often MAT is initiated in the jail. So, and then they're transitioned out with that particular-assisted treatment. We also have 12 women who are housed in the Discovery Recovery House, and that's operated by Ohio Guidestone as well. And that's also on Northland, and yes, I'm on the last page. With levy funds, we're also able to support Kathy's House, who's expanded males. They now have 28 male beds, a level 1 to level 2 type housing, and Brunswick. And they also support residents who come in with MAT, so they can bring their medication and they can help supervise and walk through that program as well. And then the Adam Board is financially supporting Kathy's House as well as Hope Recovery programming growth at the Brown Trump Homestead Farm here in Medina. Sometimes you might have heard of it as Loveland Farm, it just depends. But in March, there are 12 male beds there as well, plus some programming growth. So that's a neat thing that's coming up. Finally, the Adam Board contracted agencies really continue to provide high quality in light of the workforce issues that they're dealing with in the shortage. Really, human services is left. The Adam Board has been to build a stronger, more diverse system of care. Ultimately, it provides residents options for programs, and thank you for allowing me to present. Any questions?
I just want to thank you for regarding the Region 19, the technical advisory committee that's been created for serving and representing Medina on that, working through that grant, and of course making sure that as the grants are awarded and that money comes to us through that settlement, that it's used to help support the programs that we're doing.
I appreciate the support and the trust that's up there.
And also, I just want to add, I did have the opportunity to tour Brown Trump last, the Parks Department, and also the folks from Kathy's House were there, and they showed me some of the work they've done in that facility, and I think that's going to be a really good partnership, and I'm looking forward to that getting off the ground.
Yeah, it's like a neat canvas. It's a blank
Mhm.
canvas. Right. Neat. So we're excited. So thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Eric Hinge, Soil and Water.
Good morning.
Our February Phase 2 meeting will be held on the 23rd at 10 a.m. Hinman Building in Balcony Room B. Township and City Phase 2 representatives will be in attendance, along with the county engineers and the health department. The meeting, we will discuss the results of our efforts for 2022 and reviewable improvement, and I have provided copies of that for review this morning. Our office is in charge of MCM1, public education and public outreach of the Phase 2 program. Teach newsletter went out on February 7th. The newsletter we put out specifically for resources for teachers within the county. And I provided all of you with that as well. In this edition, we have the 2023 Envirothon, which will be on April 26th. The Envirothon is a yearly competition for high school students to demonstrate their knowledge of the environment and natural resources. Students in T5 test their knowledge of soil and land use, wildlife, forestry, ecology, and current environmental issues. The deadline to register your school teams is March 7th. Also in this edition, we have the NACD poster contest, the Medina County Earth Day coloring contest, and information about Water World Day on March 22nd. Our technician, Jim Smith, published in the January 26th edition of the Farm and Dairy with an article about habitat improvement. We have our tree sales that we love. We're currently sold out of American Larch, Hornless, Honey Locust, Mulberry, American Plum, and Winterberry. So it's a good thing we're out, but if you want your order, might get your orders in to us quick. And the deadline for that will be March 31st. And the last, our office assisted ODA with the surveying and design of a water bar to direct and limit field erosion. That practice will be implemented in Wadsworth Township. On February 1st, we attended the Lake Erie CREP training. Eligible practices for that include permanent introductions, permanent native grasses, windbreak establishment, filter strips, separated filter strips, which are new for this year, riparian buffers, wetlands, and wetland restorations in non-floodplain areas. To sign up for determine your eligibility, you'll need to contact the Farm Service Agency. Practices are only available in Medina for Lake Erie watersheds, so nothing going down from Chippewa Lake. A presentation from Medina City Schools Student Council for stormwater and rain barrels will be February 22nd. The OF-SWCD partnership meeting will be 1st and 22nd. Myself, one other staff member, and a board member will be attending. March 2nd, we will have an Area 2 SWCD administration. I'll be meeting with other district heads to discuss local resource concerns and operations. And our February board meeting will take place tomorrow. I want to thank Commissioner Harrison in attendance. And as always, if you have a group or municipality that is looking for speakers, anything conservation-based, please reach out to our office.
Thank you, Eric.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, next we have our commission. We are appointing members to the Medina Convention and Bureau Board of Directors. Appointing James Gersbacher, Lee Marshall.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Roll?
Yes.
Harrison?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Okay, any public comment today? All right, we are going to move on to discussion session. And what we're going to talk about, we have Mayor Hanwell here and Judge Warner, I thought I did, yes. Okay, so we are going to be talking about the potential use of the 1969 building for municipal court operations. Mayor Hanwell, did you want to come up and say anything?
Good morning.
Sorry, I was a little bit late. I was on an NPR interview there till 9:30. Basically, when I talked with the commission last time, we got to the numbers that the city seems agreeable to. We haven't run it through council yet, but in talking to council president and the law director, and I believe the commissioners are. The concern we have is that if the city invests, first pays for 33 years for the shared spaces, that's about a little over $1.5 million, and then if the city puts another $8+ million in renovations, our concern now is that 50 years is not long enough to realize the investment that we're making. And also in 50 years, the existing municipal court likely won't be there and available to use. If it's filled with other spaces, if it's still open, if the county has an interest for another purpose. I know you didn't want to put the Board of Elections there, but it or could be turned into a community center, as we don't have a school in that north of our city. So my only request of commissioners is consideration that there be ability to have extensions beyond the 50 years that we're limited to currently. I've taken the liberty to ask Mr. Hewer to include that, and then we'll get drafts over to Scott and the three of you, and then we can talk from there. But basically, we are.
Okay, so last time we met, it was 33 years plus 2 10-year renewals, so to 53 years. When we had that meeting from Scott, when we had that email meeting with John, what is the number that you think it should be?
Okay, the draft lease that was put together is a little bit different than, and Commissioner Hudson, before he became judge, assisted in writing the language along with Todd Hunt, who.
Oh, I know that draft, but when we had a meeting.
It's not those numbers.
Yeah, but when
It's
we had the
35.
meeting, we did talk 33, 10, 10, when all of us.
Well, 33 is the bond, 30 for the initial term, with then a possible renewal 15. That's where I'm getting the 50.
Okay.
So it's not 33, 10, 10, it's 15 in the draft. And I know you all haven't seen that yet, been going back and
Right.
forth.
I'm just talking about what we talked about at that meeting.
Right.
So what do you think is the number that you want?
I'd have a better job than this if I could predict the future. So I guess all I'm asking is that the contract be written to where it's open for continued use versus having a hard deadline.
I guess the question is, what security verbally do you need that there would 50 years that the city and the commissioners would, in good work on an agreement to continue the presence there, should the city still want to?
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
So he's working on language that basically tries to firm that up?
Yes.
Okay.
And as long as that's agreeable, then I think we're all in good shape.
I guess it depends on the language of that up.
Yeah,
Again,
understood.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about market rate at that time?
I'm not talking about numbers at all, just the ability to stay in the building. I mean, my biggest issue, as you can imagine, and obviously none of us are going to be dealing with this.
Right.
But at 50, say, okay, thanks, have a nice day, find somewhere else to go, and literally have nothing then, because we don't have an asset.
Right.
However, and I don't know if this is the time to discuss this or not. One of the questions was, I know Scott's talked before about purging some of the county buildings, so you don't have so many on your rosters. their interest from the city of whether or not it would be possible commissioners would be interested in actually purchasing the building. And then when we make the runs, it makes more sense because we own the building. To get to that number, it would likely have to be appraised, and you all evaluate it. We evaluate, see if we can come to a number that makes sense to us. If there's no interest with the Board of County Commissioners in some, then I can just report that back to the council that there's not. But again, that is something that the city would be willing to hard look at.
Well, I can speak for myself, and I know the other two. This is selling 1969 courthouse, so it has a potential county function. In case we do have an agreement that we've talked about.
Yes, sir.
For moving, in which we're total agreement having that municipal court function there, as well as the law department and the language of the agreement we talked about would reflect that. At this point, it seems to be the only question you have is, after that 50-year period, what's the you have that you can continue using it for the purposes
Yes, sir.
of that? And I would imagine in that period, I will wager, obviously not going to be there, but remodeled again. I mean, at this point, it's going to be modeled. It's going to be and modified to fit your need, county needs. So it will be set up for purposes of a meeting, and they likely would have a lot of expenses, even if it desired after 50 years, county purposes. Unlikely it would be a courthouse. Unlikely would fit that for the county. So actually, the advantage would be to the city to be able to maintain that function there, because it would be designed and would continue to be updated of the technology needed to operate as a muni court.
Yes, sir.
So unlikely would have why in the future that they want it for that purpose is the thing they'd have to do to redo it, and no longer for those functions. So there is an advantage, obviously, to the benefit of the city to continue it for that purpose.
Yes, sir.
My thought too on this, just to add to that, is I do think the county has uses for it that would probably prevent us from selling it. But I also believe that there are certain advantages to having all the courts in one place. And so that's been the nature of our discussions up to this point in time. And so to the extent that we can make to make that happen, I think that serves everybody's interest, and I'd like to pursue. With that being said, I get a little bit of tying the hands of future boards, 50 years plus road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, my concern about extending terms that we might be agreeing to today off into the distant future is a little bit of a concern. So the nature of the deal that we've talked about up to this point has a rental rate plus a capitalization of cost in terms of the construction that's already gone on over there. So the trade-off has been for what I would call a below market rental rate. The city's going to be assuming that cost. So to Mr. Hambley's point, if in the future the extension is subject to the rental terms, the actual lease payment at fair markets, I think that's then for the future board and the future city council to what's fair at that point, and I have a lot more comfort with setting it up that way. I'd be less comfortable with setting it up where it's merely an extension of the more terms we've established to start the lease. So I don't know how you would view that, but that's how I look at the distinction of the two possibilities.
Yeah. So I don't see a government to government lease operation the same as if it was a commercial lease. Generally, government to government benefit to both. We're helping by maintaining the building, remoting, keeping the operations going, and the benefit that the courts and one plus courts are downtown businesses, which is why the city $4.6 million in the parking deck. and I'm sorry, I don't have memorized, but I believe the parking deck lease is 99, Scott? 9 years? You don't know either? Okay. It's a significant term. I know the lease of the square to the city back in the 60s was a 99-year for $1. So all I'm sometimes it's looked a little bit differently with government-to-government operations because 2/3 folks, population-wise, that come through the Medina Municipal Court are county residents outside of Medina County, or Medina City rather. So he is assuming the expenses, but we're serving 2/3 the county, and I just see collaborate as serving those constituents of yours as well.
I too am not in favor of selling 69. I think that that is something to do as
Okay.
far as leaders of the county. I do get a little nervous. And, again, we're gonna have to talk because my notes say 33, so we'll have to get that together. But I am interested in the language because I don't think it's responsible to handcuff, I don't know a better word, the future leaders completely. I do think it will be their responsibility to make these decisions. I am open to looking at the language. I am not open to locking into any kind of money or permanent commitment because I use the example 100 ago when leaders were building buildings. They didn't have AD compliance, they didn't have EPA requirements, they didn't have different 24 court security requirements from the Supreme Court. We have no idea what the leaders 50 plus years from now will have to deal with over there on the square. And so the language have to be written in a way where county leaders are able to have some flexibility with the dollar amount with decisions in the future. It can't be a lockdown.
If I could too, I mean, and I understand, I guess, in some of the discussion, there's is that you want to be able to make an investment in your purchase instead of lease. We do have, obviously, we've got a professional building we could look at terms of sale. And frankly, we would move all this operation or administration building over to the 69 courthouse. This would likely be sale for the purposes of a community court. So, I mean, if you feel that the benefit of the city to actually purchase something, and the county is involved with it, we could be transactions for that rather than a lease of the 69. But you had talked about,
Right.
potentially a lease part-time and while you fix up the muni court and go that approach. But obviously, we have the potential to being able to use that, the county administration function over there, in which case this complex would be available. A lot of parking and a lot of opportunity for modeling, for
Right.
sure.
So I'll start with yours and then I'll come
Okay,
back
yeah.
to the disadvantage with that is we lose the efficiencies of sharing port and
Agreed.
sharing the security checkpoint.
Right.
So that's not much different than where we are now, other than the building is drained. I prefer to keep those efficiencies. And basically, all I need to do is check off that I asked the question, you're not interested in selling, and
Okay.
the council knows that we vetted that. Back to the limitations of the lease, not looking at putting in there for rent or anything else. I'm basically just asking that it be written within this, if the process going well for both the city and the county, that we heard that we can go beyond 50 years.
So, subject to the future agreement of the boards.
Exactly. Well, it would
Okay.
have to be.
We'll see what
Yeah,
the language
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Because future councils will have to decide too, and future judges decide whether or not they still feel that's a good operation there as is.
Okay.
So
just-
I understand some flexibility needs to be in there.
And without seeing it.
Understood, sir.
Yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable with the concept of the discretion of the future versions of all of us.
Yes, sir. Yes,
making
sir.
those decisions. and so I mean, for everybody, but that's kind of how I view that as different than a,
A lot
con-
over.
right,
Now,
a
what-
continuation.
When do you think you can get language for this? We'd like to, obviously, tie this up as soon as possible. And I don't know what the, with council and so forth. Likewise, we know at the middle of this year, DR is going to be moving back out. And so we have the opportunity, obviously, after that, to be able to use for, so we would like some, I know there has been kind of like an open-ended, we would like sort of a determination from the city as when you want to, we're willing to conclude this. I think giving you the deal of the century in my mind. This is great, the opportunity for the partnership, working out mutual benefit, but this is a really good deal for the city, no doubt. So but we need to put a close to it and get this done so we can move on.
So to answer your question, I would expect that by the end of this week, very early next week, we should have a draft together.
Good.
I'll send it to Scott directly and let him share it with you unless you want me to do all four at once. I'm okay either way. Okay.
Good.
So I'll take care. We want to make sure before request for council action and get the council going down that track, the commissioners conceptually are okay with it. Or if we need modifications, what I don't want to do is take it to council, then pull it back, or pass something, rescind it, and redo it. So I'm trying to get all those things lined up so we can get it forward with some agreement, and then the council.
So when we had our meeting, I was excited into consensus on numbers. Do you think that they are going to be okay with our numbers?
My feeling is once we explain to them how the numbers were achieved and what we're doing and doing it, that they will be okay with the numbers.
Do you think we can complete this by Memorial Day? Given the timing of council,
Well, for argument,
Yeah,
for
go-
argument's
yeah.
sake, if add it to you next, and you in a month, then we're late March, council April and May. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's not inconceivable.
Okay. Why not?
I'll do my best.
The process for council is takes a little bit more than the three of us.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
But
okay.
what I'm hearing though, which I'm encouraged, is you want to have not a final document, but a agreement that the council can approve in front of them, not a concept around how it's going to be negotiated. So negotiations have been more or less wrapped, and we have a document. Then you're putting the document in front of them.
Right. Once I make sure you all are okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause it
like I
doesn't
said,
make sense.
if you have a minute after, I would just like to show you
Let's
this as far as, so we're not wasting time on years,
Just-
because actually
just-
this one gives you a couple more years.
Yeah, just send us the language.
Understood.
Do you have any more questions, or?
No, I just want to reinforce that having the courts together on the square, I think, for the community as well as the users of the court, just makes perfect sense to me. I see this as a chance in a lifetime for us. As you all know, we've resolved this issue for greater than 2 decades, and I'm going to do my best not to let this opportunity slip away from us.
Jordan, is there anything you would like to say?
Sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. I'll stay here for security.
He didn't give courtesy.
He's got your back, is what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Good morning, Commissioners. I was taking notes down there, listening to the questions as we're going through these things. I wish I had words to say. This whole project predates me by a long shot. I've only been over there for 5 years. I have read Judge Chase's notes on this project going back 20 years. He has examined this problem as carefully as any living human could. And the problem for 20 years. We've had 2 safety assessments done by Supreme Court personnel, and they've told the building is a very poorly designed courthouse. That's not meant to be a criticism to the thing. the old one burnt down. We have the pictures of that burning courthouse listed in our law library at the courthouse. So we are aware why the building went up as quickly and in the fashion that it did. So that's not meant to be a criticism, but it is a reality. Commissioner Hambley was there just a week or so ago for a Valor Court graduation, and we did cornering him in a very small hallway, just to make the point with him about the environment that we're dealing with over there. It's not a safe environment. I think it's some measure of this community to these court services together that we sweated our last project, which you guys are now populating. That building was supposed to have a floor for us. It made perfect sense. It was marked for a whole bunch of reasons, which, by the way, we can still capture through the deal that we're working on right now. Just a couple of points I want to make here. One thing about the city of Medina's role with this courthouse, we're actually talking about the Medina municipality, not the city of Medina. By statute, the city of Medina was left with responsibility to court. But the following communities are in the geographical district of the Medina municipal. It's Brunswick Hills Township, Brunswick City, Chatham Township, Chippewa Lake Village Township, Hinckley Township, Lafayette Township, Litchfield Township, Pool Township, the City of Medina, Medina Township, Montville Township, Spencer Village, York Township, and then portions of the Cleveland Metropolitan Park. So the geographical area of our court is really top 2/3 of the two largest cities. There's a public resource that the Supreme Court called their dashboard, which you can all go on today after you leave this building. And you can see what they are for all of these various courts. You can see the caseloads they're dealing with. We're the highest municipal courts in the state. Just by comparison, I went there this morning and looked at numbers for Cleveland Muni Court, Hamilton, Berea, and Parma. And our numbers 22 are per judge. They do it on a per judge basis. They're above all except one, actually two, Hamilton and Berea. Just a little bit more per judge, cases per judge from 2022, Hamilton a little more than that, but we have more cases per judge in our court than in any of those other districts. We do distributions from our court every year, close to $2 million in operations in all of the law enforcement agencies in those communities that I provide, in addition to many other state funds. A lot of money comes through this court to fund community operations. So I can't emphasize the sort of once in a lifetimeness of this opportunity. We're talking about figuring out what's going to happen 50 years out. Here's the good news. The building we're talking about is about 50 years old, and we're here talking about what to do. So it won't be magic. 50 years from now, reasonable people are still going to sit around the table, figure community needs, and work out their problems. It's not a trick. Right now, we're 50 years out on a building that's been a courthouse for 50 years. We keep it a courthouse. But operationally, I cannot emphasize how much better the operation of the court system in this county will be with those courts all operating on the square. I joke. I don't mean that respectfully either, but it's kind of the algae food chain in the court system, okay? So we're a numbers place. We do a lot of cases. But I can tell you, they routinely wait for lawyers coming over from Common Pleas. We are routinely redirecting witnesses and victims from our court to Common Pleas because that's where they're supposed to be. They know they just don't know which court they need to be in. We have transports, people being transported from our jail to the Common Pleas Court, then to our community. We're always sorting that. Agencies are going to coordinate those transports. That problem goes away. In our protection, we have no separation whatsoever between court personnel and the public. As I illustrated as acutely as I could for Commissioner Hambley, we have one 4-foot wide hallway that runs the length of our courthouse, through which all law enforcement victims, all court personnel, all defendants, all transports, they all go through this same, and to get from the outside to the inside, they've got to pass the clerk's office, the magistrate's office, open bailiff's offices. Our witnesses wait in our copy room. There are no conference rooms for counsel. There are no safe places for victims. Like I said, it's really a tough situation over there. And the preliminary possibilities for the 69 courthouse if we adapt it to our uses, and they're, I mean, is it going to fix every problem? Probably not. We don't even know what some of them, they creep up on us, but it's going to solve a lot of them. Like I said, if I knew the magic words to make everybody just say makes sense, language makes sense, take some comfort in the here 50 years out on that courthouse, putting it to further courthouse uses. So will it be possible 50 years from now? I'm guessing so. Tying hands of future commissioners, nobody wants to do that. There really shouldn't be perpetuity in this, though. It seems to me the greater concern is if the muni court came up and decided it wanted to relocate. There should be language in this agreement that allows you all to arrange for a orderly transition, because, whether successors kick us out or not, 60 years from now, we're still going to have a Medina court, probably, unless something else changes. So the idea that we get to this deadline and there's deadlock, and then what? Then they still have the city statutory obligation to furnish the service for this community, for those communities in the thirds of this county. So that ought to weigh heavily, it seems to me, in determining what it be. With respect, this is not a fairly situation. This is one government, legislative, executive, and judicial. It's an independent brand. We're not selling widgets. We're not making things over there. I don't know that value comes into this. It really shouldn't. That's an opinion. That's one opinion. Because this relies on a sound court system. How sound? I've been into that new building. I know exactly how this county prioritizes judicial services. It matters. An excellent opportunity to continue to preserve those services here in this county. By the way, just not for nothing, we do twice as many cases as they do in Wadsworth. Just saying. But you can check all those numbers on the dashboard, for reference purposes, just on the number of cases and the distribute the money that comes through the courthouse, I printed out copies of our 2021 annual report, commissioners, this morning. We're still working on our 2022 report. Deadline, I think, is late March or something like that, so we're working on that one. But this is the most recent report that we last year. And before I stop yammering, I just want to make sure, okay, 50 years out, tying hands. Oh, as far as buying a different court, but that really doesn't help us. At least doesn't help us in this sort of global planning aspect of it. The only way to address that now, because we lost out on the new building, is to get us into 69 building, capture some of those efficiencies. We've got an excellent working relationship between our sheriff's office in terms of building security. I mean, you guys have worked through those issues in the language. Anyway, I don't know what else except that when I pray at night, I pray that cool heads will, that we are all going to see the wisdom of getting this deal done, keeping this courthouse square, and realizing all the advantages that it will provide for the rest long after we're all gone. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
We have a couple more people I'm going to ask.
Oh, very
if
good.
they want to make comment.
I'll just say, I think this board agrees with you and the mayor wholeheartedly. You as far if we didn't agree. We absolutely agree, and I think this is the benefit. It's just getting past the language involving beyond the current proposal of plus years. So
Very good. Appreciate that.
Let's get to it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor, did you have anything else?
Just please.
Okay.
Mike,
Thank you, guys.
did you have anything you wanted to add? No. Anything you wanted to add, Tom?
Okay.
Steve?
No.
You're right. Okay, so Mayor, I will get you, show you these specifics if you can stay 5 minutes. Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay. Who else is here? Steve? He does have.
Oh, wow.
Quick update on the courthouse.
Okay.
Just so you know, just a quick update on the courthouse. The 1841 courthouse is being renovated now. We have, I do believe, demo is on the 3rd floor, what's considered now the 3rd floor. It used to be the 2nd floor. They are demoing on the 2nd floor now, and we have removed all of the flooring on the ground floor. We have found extra asbestos, so there'll be coming through on that, but nothing that has been out of the ordinary. Just know Brian has taken some photos of the courthouse in its glory. So it's got like the metal tin ceilings and things like that, some photos of to post. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that. They should start later this week or early next week. The temporary fencing around the courthouse down. The lighting has been installed on the sidewalks out front. The parking have been installed. The parking lot will start going in hopefully next week with this wonderful having. So the parking lot will start going in on the front of the courthouse. Landscaping will sometime. So we should start seeing the front of the courthouse, the fencing start to be removed except for where the parking lot will be. So
Do you think you'll make a
as of right now, yes, the July date is promising.
What about the fencing on the Broadway? When will that be removed? Because
I will have to get with Gil Bain. That is still going to be the construction, 1841. So that construction is supposed to be done. I think the timeline is June 20th is when that is supposed to be completed. I'm not sure if that fencing can come down before, but I will get with them and see what their timeline looks like.
Well, I'm just thinking about all the summer events, obviously, that go in. That portion of it has obviously been very noticeable.
Yeah, we'll definitely be springtime there.
Okay,
as
got
demo
it.
continues, construction debris will still continue to come out. Like I said, framing will start, I do believe this week, if
Good.
not early next week.
Thank
how's
you.
the O model going?
OSU Extension Office is going well. I do believe we are on time. That project should be done by the end of March. We have got framing in. I think they are drywalling now. I think pretty much we've got flooring coming in soon. Painting will be coming in soon. All of those projects should be happening pretty quickly.
Okay.
So, any
Anything
other?
else for Trent, Steven?
Very good. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Jeremy, do you have anything?
Today.
Susan, do you have anything? Not today. That I missed and has. Steve, do you have anything else?
No?
Aaron?
No, ma'am.
I will answer.
Yeah, well, I need to go to an executive session in order to consider the employment compensation of a public employee.
Second.
Roll.
Hambley?
Yes.
Sweattick?
Yes. Okay, we will be going into executive
You
session.
want to meet with the mayor first?
I'm just
And we can
show
hold
him
off.
this. Yes,
Okay.
show him this. And then we will not be coming back on Camera Great Week.